with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Tell some of the people you don't like, too. And also, please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Jean Johnson. She is here to celebrate Rini Roo's Adventure books. Before we invite Jean into the studio, we want to invite all the authors that are listening to the show to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Please click the Authors Click Here button up at the top of the page. You can learn how you can be a guest here on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance in a long-form conversation to tell the world about your fantastic children's book. And get this, it doesn't cost a thing. Whoa! You can also learn about our Certified Great Read program. That has helped so many authors. It's helped their books stand out. You know, there are literally thousands of books published every single month. It is really hard, especially for an independent or self-published author, to stand out amongst that crowd of books. We can help you. The Certified Great Read program is a fantastic program. We can also let you know about our monthly promotion program. You can learn all about that and more at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Join us right now from the wonderful state of Kansas. Our guest is here today to celebrate her beautiful book series. It's called Rini Roo's Adventures. Please welcome to the show, Jean Johnson. Hey, Jean, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. Jean and I just had the most delightful conversation, delightful and hopeful and uplifting conversation, and it all the conversation started by talking about something that's kind of scary. And isn't it amazing how when we share our faith, we can just kind of lift each other up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially when you start going through some hard things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's nice to have other people that can stand next to you and, you know, join arms and march on together.
Yeah. Amen. All right. So listen, why don't we find out about Rini Roo's Adventures? Because I understand that this series is inspired by somebody pretty special.
Yes. So, with the birth of my granddaughter, came so many memories flooding back of me being a child. And I was actually raised in the Yucatan jungle. So I was not raised here in the United States. I was raised actually in the actual jungle. We had, tigers. I had, a sloth, anteaters. These were all my pets. It was kind of like like George of the Jungle, really. And for those younger people, y'all may not know what that is. You can Google it. But, we were raised in the Yucatan jungle. And so when we first moved there, the Mayan Indians had never seen people with light skin or our hair. And so the little kids would always run up to us and touch our hair and touch our faces and, you know, want to talk to us. But they, of course, spoke Mayan. And we didn't speak Mayan. And so the language barrier really did kind of push myself and my sister to learn other avenues of communication. And so when my granddaughter was born, Rini Roo just kind of popped into my head and was like, oh my goodness, this would be a great way for kids to learn vocabulary words, for kids to learn other languages. So in the series that's coming, I'm going to touch and actually bring words and sentences that are in Spanish and Mayan that the kids can read along and learn. And so learning to me is so important because, like I said, us being in a different country and not able to communicate was very, very hard. And so I want to make sure that for, children who are having a hard time communicating or expressing themselves through these books with the colorful graphics and the great characters, that they can feel like they are being understood by somebody. And who better than a kangaroo named Rini Roo?
Well, that's really cool. And there's a lot that I want to talk about, but I can't not ask, what in the world were you doing down in the Yucatan?
So my parents were missionaries to the Mayan Indian people. And as a matter of fact, my brother is still there, and he has been married to a Mayan Indian woman for over 35 years, and they still live there.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I am excited about your background and your history. I am about to we talked about it here on the podcast. I am going to be part of a performance troupe, a group called Clowns Without Borders, and we are traveling. I am going to be on tour throughout El Salvador. And
wow.
we'll be joining the troupe in Guatemala City. So I'll be spending about 3 weeks down in Central America, and I'm really hoping I get to see some of the Mayan pyramids when I'm down in the area. We're going to be we're not playing big theaters and things like that. We're performing for refugees and internally displaced folks and other migrants. So I'm going to be seeing a lot of the less seen parts of Guatemala and El Salvador, and similar to what you experienced in the Yucatan. For me, my beautiful wife and I, we're at a point in our lives where we are really looking to do a lot more traveling, but she is really interested in visiting Paris and Athens and Rome and those places, right? And I want to visit the jungles of the Yucatan.
Well, it's definitely a different world. When you get down there, you'll just be like, this is awesome. For us, when we first moved down there, we would have people come and visit, and we'd tell them, warn them about the size of everything is just crazy. And one time, somebody came running in. There's a spider in my bathroom. And we said, yes, we know there's spiders everywhere here. And they were like, no, you don't understand. This spider is as big as a plate. And we said, yes, but we told you they were big spiders. And so it's just a different world. The people are fabulous. I love, being in that part of Mexico. That's where my heart is. I love the people. What can I say? I'm partial.
Yeah. Well, this is really exciting. So the birth of your granddaughter brought all these memories back. Had you always dreamed about writing kids' books, or was it just that spontaneous? Your granddaughter was born, and I just have to put these pen to paper.
Well, God just kind of reminded me what my first passion was. When we, first got to the village, I would put on puppet shows for the kids of the village. And I'd invite all the village kids to our house and put on puppet shows and have popcorn and lemonade. And I did all this on my own, and I was only about 5 or 6. And so that kind of came rushing back of, hey, remember when you used to do this? And I was just like, oh my goodness, I hadn't thought of that in 40 years. And we were laying in bed, and my husband began to talk to me, and he said, honey, wouldn't it be interesting if you were to write a kid's book and kind of throw in some of what you have experienced in with the books and kind of blend it? And not even joking, it took 24 hours for me to write, develop the character, and send it over to an editor to be edited.
Yeah. Well, and I am really, really happy that you mentioned that, yes, the ideas came quick, and you wrote it down. You're able to put these things together really quickly. but you also had it edited. So I don't want people thinking that you can write a kid's book in 24 hours and get it out there. It's like, no. Ideas might come, but then it takes a lot of massaging and working and polishing before it's ready to come out and be launched into the world. I have to say, we talked a lot about books being mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors, giving kids a chance to see themselves portrayed in the pages of books, giving kids a chance to see others, people from other cultures and races and backgrounds, to see those folks and get a peek into their world. And hopefully the sliding glass door lets kids come together. This is the very first time we've celebrated a book that was translated into Mayan. And I'm really delighted about that, because I have at least one person in my extended family that is of Mayan descent. And that's pretty wonderful. I don't know if there are other kids' books translated into Mayan. Congratulations. It's, if not a first, it's definitely within the top 50 or 60, I'm guessing.
Yes. This book that is coming out is going to be called the Yucatan Adventures, and it's going to drop before the Christmas season begins. And I'm just been kind of waiting. I had hoped to get it out beforehand, but with some medical stuff going on, it kind of got pushed back a little bit. But that is still the plan, and we're still moving forward with it. Super excited, because like I said, I want to introduce kids to other languages, and Spanish and Mayan, for me I am fluent in Spanish. My mom is full blood Mexican. My dad was white, and they came together and had me. And so that, having one foot on one side and one foot on the other, it kind of gives me a really broad perspective. And then when my brother married a Mayan woman, my niece and my nephew are Mayan too. And so then they speak Mayan as well. Yeah. And so to me, it's just incorporating and embracing all of these things that make each and every person different. And I'm just sharing mine with kids so that they can embrace their own differences too.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I'm really excited about this, not only are we introducing kids and giving kids a chance to see folks in other cultures, and this is definitely a culture they may not be aware, and I'm sure a lot of parents are going to be very surprised that it still exists. And we study the Incas and the Mayans in elementary school, but I think most of us are under the impression that, those cultures are gone. That was in the past. And we don't realize that there are still people throughout Latin America that are speaking Mayan and other indigenous languages.
Yes. It was several years ago when the movie Apocalypto came out. My niece and us, we all went to go see it because, of course, it was talking about the Mayan culture. And the very beginning of the movie, they were talking about, this people has been extinct. And she stood up. She's like, I'm not extinct. I'm right here. And so when you go, and I'm sure, whenever you head down to Guatemala, you will meet, I'm sure, several Mayans, because Mayans are, Guatemala and the Yucatan are right there side by side. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you're going to meet some, and they're a lot smaller than, I'm only, 5 foot, and I'm a giant, compared to them. Like my sister-in-law is only maybe pushing 4'10". Mm-hmm. They're just really little people, mm-hmm. and they're just the sweetest. I just love them. I just think they're phenomenal, very helpful. It's just an amazing experience to be able to say that I was raised there.
Yeah. Well, I love this because one of the things we've talked about here in the podcast. I married my beautiful wife. Her family's originally from Puerto Rico. And like a lot of people before I met her, when you heard the term Spanish people, Hispanic, Latino, you thought, there's this one tent, and everybody fits under that tent, and they all listen to the same music, and they eat the same food, and it's all just one from Cuba and Puerto Rico all the way down to the tip of South America. It's all the same, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And it's even, I think it's even more fascinating that after we recognize that all these different countries have their own dialect, their own words and phrases and customs, even within those different countries, there are still indigenous people. There are the Mayans in Panama, the Imbara people, and throughout South America, there are all sorts of different indigenous peoples that are part of Peru and Colombia and Argentina. And I think it's great for us to start talking to our kids about that, to just help them realize that the world is a wonderful kaleidoscope of people.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the aspects that I find so fun with the Rini Roo character, is that because she is a kangaroo and because all of the characters in the books are animals, that I can slip these things in and the kids actually get a hold of it. Kids understand what I'm talking about. It's not getting lost in translation because of this, that, or the other. Kids are so quick to be able to identify, oh, this is what we're talking about. Okay. And they'll start, I've gone and done a reading at one of the schools, and the kids were so excited that it made me excited, because afterwards they were just peppering me with all kinds of questions. And these are little kids. These are preschoolers. And I was not expecting them to be asking such detailed questions. And they were listening and paying attention and talking about, the different things about the dinosaurs. And that was one thing that I did want to make sure that all of my books had, that was a common thread. And that's that Rini Roo goes on these adventures, but in every state that she visits, she then will focus in on like the different things about the state, but then also about the dinosaurs that have been found there. And the kids immediately, I know what that is. I know what that is. Mom and Dad have shown me that we've gone to see this dinosaur or that dinosaur. And it gets me excited, because if the kids are excited to learn, then it's so much easier for them to be able to absorb what it is that they're reading. And so with the characters and the colors in the books and the bright, the way it's laid out, the kids absolutely love it. And that just makes my heart jump for joy. I love it. I love when the kids run up to me and just want to hug me and tell me that they love the character, they love the book. And it just melts my heart. It's wonderful.
That's wonderful. I have to ask, though, with, you living in Kansas and growing up in the Yucatan, I would understand a sloth character, but a kangaroo? I just, where did that come from?
Well, my granddaughter is a ginger. So she's got red hair and blue eyes. And so that is where the character came from. So when we were looking for characters that we thought fit her the best, it was a kangaroo.
All right. That's so wonderful and so exciting. So you mentioned that Rini Roo is traveling around the states. How many different states has she visited so far?
So right now we have 2 books. There is a Dinosaur Valley, which is Texas, for Glen Rose, Texas. That's what's considered the Dinosaur Valley. And then we have the Kansas book. Now, for each book that's out there, there is a companion coloring book, and then that book is also available in Spanish. So for each book that comes out, there's actually three of the same that come out. I have ready to go. As a matter of fact, I could launch it right here while we're talking. But I have 3 ready to go in the queue. I just had not, done anything with it. Like I said, with what has happened this week, right. kind of threw a little wrench in there for me. But otherwise, hopefully this next coming week, we'll be getting, back into the swing of things.
That's wonderful. And what's the plan? Are we planning on having Rynnie visit all 50 states and maybe the different countries in Latin America?
Yes. So the way that I've kind of have it planned out is that people can go onto my social media, and occasionally I'll ask a question to the audience. Hey, what state should I write about next? And I'll have actually several different people that will, chime in here. So the next one's coming up is going to be Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi. Those are the ones that have been nominated. So, so I get a lot of traction. I get a lot of people commenting on, and interactive. It's a lot of interactive. It's a lot of stuff that's happening and going on that I focus that solely on social media. So that if people want to reach out, they can kind of see what Rini Roo is up to. And of course, I do share little bits and pieces of my life on there as well.
Well, I think it's fantastic. We love inspiring kids to be curious and also to want to get out and travel and visit the rest of the world and visit people in different corners of the world. And it certainly sounds like Rini Roo's going to help that. And so congratulations on that. That's really exciting. Have you taken the time, I like to ask this on occasion, especially for an author that didn't plan on being an author. Have you sat down and taken a moment to think about the fact that have been hundreds of families so far, and then probably thousands that are going to be curled up on the couch together, reading your books, reading your words?
It actually makes me extremely happy because that's my goal. I want these books to be something where families, big and small, whatever, if it's, aunts, uncles, whoever, being able to sit with a child and read with them and watch their little eyes sparkle. I remember my mom doing that with me, and it changed me. It changed me because my little imagination took off. And I don't know that I would be so imaginative had that and not been planted way back when. And so that's my goal. I want families to sit and read, and I want them to get inspired, and I want to hear from those kids, and I want to see those kids become astronauts and, and authors and, whatever it is that they want to achieve. But it always starts with them learning and growing. And I think imagination is huge. Yeah. And so if I can, push that along any which way I can, I really think that's why my books are so colorful. Somebody asked me, like, why are your pages so, there are just tons of color on there. What are you doing? And I said, because I love color. Mm-hmm. And if I love color, I know that the kids are going to love color. And turns out, guess what? Kids love color.
Kids love color. Absolutely. Hey, I would love it for you to tell everybody where they can go to find out more about you and find out more about Rini Roo.
Oh, fantastic. They can reach out on my website, which is www.rynnieroo.com. They can also find us on Facebook at Rini Roo's Adventures, and of course Instagram at Rini Roo's Adventures. And it's always going to have the little Rini Roo character on there. So as long as you see her, you've got her.
We've had a great time speaking about the great new series, Rini Roo's Adventures. Our guest has been the author, Jean Johnson. Jean, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I had a very, very delightful time.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you miss it, you will be so bummed out. Our guest will be New York Times best-selling author Kate DiCamillo. She is returning to the Reading with Your Kids podcast to celebrate the very first book in her Nurindi Tales trilogy. It's called The Puppets of Spellhorst. Kate also gives us some insight into her inspiration, some of the books that have become movies. She also gives us some fantastic advice for all the authors and aspiring writers that listen to the podcast, especially kids. So don't miss it. The next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast, Kate DiCamello. She'll be here. We hope you will join us as well. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we want to start by thanking our wonderful guest, G. Johnson. Please be sure to check out Rini Roo's Adventures. I also want to thank my amazing team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Chris Doherty, Soji Franklin, Ann O'Leary. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.